The flooding rains continued today across Trinidad, and we did see some of those effects, particularly across in Port of Spain. But the adverse weather has cleared. The Meteorological Service has cancelled the adverse weather alert, but the floodwaters that are around will gradually subside, even though the intense activity from the ITCZ has left. Now, what does this mean at the green risk level? It means that no hazards are expected in terms of those damaging gusty winds or those flooded waters. But obviously, during this time, you should basically stock up on any emergency supplies, as well as create an emergency plan in the eventuality that it will likely be another risk level as we go through the next few months as well. Now, for the month of August, the rainfall total is now at 135 millimeters, just over the halfway mark. But bear in mind, we have 3 weeks left to run for the month of August, so we definitely could be seeing more rain added to that rain gauge as we go through the month. Looking back at what happened, you can just see here the intense rains pushing over across the central areas of Trinidad, as well as along the Gulf of Paris in the Port of Spain. Those are orange colours there, signifying where the heavier bursts came through. But the ITCZ activity has sunk south, and therefore we've been seeing some clearing of the skies from Tobago into eastern areas of Trinidad, and it will likely remain quite clear as you go through Wednesday and Thursday, and then we could be seeing a bit more rainfall by the time we get to Friday. But the Atlantic is pretty quiet right now. As I said, through August and into September, this is when activity tends to peak, but at least for now it's quiet out there in the Atlantic waters. So a quiet night for many of you in Tobago. Clear skies for the most part will lead to sunny spells throughout your Wednesday. It would also feel quite hot at times. There's not much of a breeze set to cool you down as you go through your afternoon. Similarly, for Trinidad, a few lingering showers are expected, especially around the Gulf of Paris, through San Fernando, Port of Spain, down towards the Carcass as well. But that eventually will begin to clear. So looking at lots of sunny spells as you go through your Wednesday morning. Also feeling hot at times through the afternoon. And for central and southern areas, that sunshine will be welcomed as it will gradually dry the earth and also allow you to recover from the flooding rains that we've had over the last few days. Temperature-wise, looking at a hot 33 degrees Celsius across Trinidad, particularly in Port of Spain, 32 elsewhere in Arima. Simply because of the mountains, you could possibly see temperatures dropping by a degree or two, but all the while feeling quite warm. The hot conditions will likely continue through Thursday, 32 expected in Tobago, and then on a Friday and on Saturday, look for a bit more moisture to come through, all courtesy of some of that ITCZ activity as well as our tropical waves. So we could be seeing a few showers popping up by the end of the working week. For those heading offshore to cool off, basically at the beaches, it's calm in the Gulf of Paris, smooth through the Caribbean, below 1 meter for the most part. And if you are heading out, you've got your high tide at 7 a.m, the next one 12 hours later at 7 p.m. Now, across the Caribbean, they've also been looking at some of the moisture coming through. Some of that moisture did touch Grenada, but not as impactful as it should have been. But in terms of the sunny weather, that will likely continue for Grenada as they go through Wednesday. From further up the island chain, maybe a couple of brief showers expected to the Leeward Islands. But to the Greater Antilles, it's mostly settled. Only a few clouds are likely. Still a hot 35 expected in Port-au-Prince. Out towards Havana, a few damp spots are expected with some moisture clipping northern Cuba. For Eastern Caribbean, only occasional showers are likely through Dominica, into St. Lucia, out towards the Leeward Islands as well. Further to the south, it's drying out quite nicely for Trinidad and Tobago as well as for Grenada, and Georgetown will see a few brief showers and a couple of them turning thundery as well. But at least for us, we're at the green risk level. The adverse weather alert has been cancelled. We could be looking for brighter and sunnier skies through Wednesday. So that's the weather, and that's it from me.